I reflected a lot and I came up with a lot of New Year's resolutions this year. I don't normally do it. I almost never do New Year's resolutions, but this year I had kind of a bunch because it just so happened I was really thinking about myself and life when the time came. And the problem with New Year's resolutions, the reason that they're so hard to keep is that a year is a year long. If you could make a New Year's resolution and really only had to do it for like 3 weeks, you'd knock it out of the park. But there's something about the fifth Monday where you're like, again? No. And I think we should all cut ourselves some slack, genuinely, when you have trouble making your New Year's resolution a habit or sticking to it, because New Year's resolutions are as old as calendars. So as long as we've been keeping track, we've been trying to be better and failing. It's very human. And our New Year's resolutions, by and large, are things that we're gonna do or stop doing to stop hurting ourselves. If you read through history and you go back to the New Year's resolutions of whole civilizations, right? The Babylonians, the Romans, these people would have ceremonies, and usually a lot of what they did, a lot of their New Year's resolutions, was to appease their gods or the tribe at large. It wasn't just about them. And all of our New Year's resolutions, for the most part, are things we're going to stop doing or start doing to stop hurting ourselves. They had New Year's resolutions to stop hurting other people. You read back in history, there were just New Year's resolutions of whole tribes that were like, this year, y'all, we not gonna pillage. We were doing too much last year. We were pillaging over here. Not everything needed to be pillaged. We need to start focusing on us, all right? Even probably had a tribe leader came up with a slogan, we not gonna pillage, we gonna be a village. No, it's as old as time. And admittedly, there are some modern New Year's resolutions. I do know a few people in my life that have had to make New Year's resolutions to stop hurting other people. You know, it's rare, but it does happen. Like I had one friend nonchalantly said, you know what, this year, I'm gonna cut less people. First of all, I didn't know she was cutting anybody. Second, your New Year's resolution is day one. Your New Year's resolution is to cut less. You didn't say none. None was an option. The year hasn't happened yet. You haven't even met who will be worth cutting, and you're still like, I might maybe give them a pass. Said, I'm gonna cut less people, and I was like, what do you mean cut less people? They were like, oh, you know how it is. I hate being asked or told if or that I know how something is when I clearly have no idea how it is. Oh, you know how it is. You go out and somebody press you, and next thing you know, you holding the blade on you. It's like, what life do you think I'm leading? What life are you leading? When are you doing this? I had a couple of New Year's resolutions. One of them was to focus on my health, which I'm already regretting. Genuinely, because this is my thing. When you try to focus on your health in the beginning of the year, you really think you're gonna do it. And that's why I'm making a New Year's resolution. If you tell me what I'm doing wrong, if you tell me what's wrong with me, in like September, I'm probably gonna be like, then I'll die. Sorry. I like doing that. But if we're starting a new year and you're like, don't do that, I'll be like, okay, I'll try, right? No. But the problem is when you focus on your health, you have to go to the doctor. And going to the doctor is a little bit too exact and final for me. If something wrong with me and I'm telling a friend about it and we're just sort of going back and forth spitballing about what it could be, it's almost kind of fun. You're like, maybe it's that. Oh, maybe it's that. Let's Google it. Oh, we shouldn't have Googled it. You know what I mean? But when you go to the doctor's like, no, you sick. No. And basically, I had to go to the doctor pretty early because, it's embarrassing to admit, but I feel like if I'm open, if I'm vulnerable about it, then it'll hopefully remove some of the stigma, okay? I had to go to the doctor because too many, I would even say most of my farts were whistling. Okay, all right. So if you're going through what I'm going through and you hear that laughter, that's why I'm doing this, to try to break through, try to show the normalcy of what was happening to me. So basically, when I would fart, I don't even fart all the time, but every once in a while, you know, one goes, and it was just having at the tail end, very tail end, it was having just a little like to it. I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't know why it was happening, but I was hearing it. And I'm not like a musician in that way. I don't know a lot of music theory, but it did seem like a bit of a D sharp to it. Like it had a little bit of that fire alarm, a little bit of that at the very end, right? And so one day I was walking and I don't even remember the food that I had, but it hit me in the wrong way. And so I sounded like a piccolo. I was walking and my steps were just a little fluty. And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I walk and listen to music. So I'll have my big old headphones on, they're noise canceling, so I can really enjoy the music and everything. And I knew I had a problem because the cut through it was so high of a pitch, it must have got under the noise canceler. And so I was just walking, and I don't know, once again, about you, but when I'm wearing my headphones, I'm listening to music, and I'm walking, it feels like I can fart however loud I want because I can't hear it, so then it must not be that bad. I know that's not actually how sound works, but it's just kind of what goes through my head while I'm doing it. And I was walking, I just heard it sort of like, do you remember? And I was like, uh-oh, I should probably talk to somebody. And so I did. I went to the doctor, and when I got to the doctor, I had a bit of an issue because I even tried to use as many big words as I could to describe what was happening to lessen the blow of what I had to say. So I was like, my flatulence is having some orchestral notes to it. And the doctor was like, what? And I'm like, don't do that. One of the main reasons I hate going to the doctor is because if you're a doctor, and especially if you're older than me and you're a doctor, I'm assuming you've been a doctor for a while, right? And if you've been a doctor for a while, then I'm assuming you've seen a lot of stuff. But somehow when I go to the doctor and I tell them my problem, they've never heard of it before. You got all these encyclopedias in here with all these diagrams of people's bodies and stuff, but then I tell you what I'm happening. You're like, what? And then I just made it simple. I was like, look, my farts are whistling. He was like, what? And I was like, that's worse. What happened to bedside manner? And so, he fixed it. I'm fine now. It doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, basically there was something going on where I had pretty much like overexerted myself, and he explained it better, but I guess my organs were kind of like a Tom and Jerry configuration, and it was just making me whistle at the very end, and then it went back to normal. My second New Year's resolution was to be very mindful about what I do and say on a podcast. Now, I'm not perfect, but This has been the downfall of a lot of people. I'm not even saying that there's never going to be a podcast where I talk out of pocket. I don't know. It's just talking. And it's so much talking that along the way, you say something dumb or something that doesn't age well or something that you don't even really think. Maybe you're just talking, right? You get anybody to talk for hours and hours and hours, and eventually they'll say something pretty dumb. So I'm trying to be mindful about what I do and say on a podcast, because when podcasts started, before there was a ton of money in it, it was just one of two things. It was either people who had such a great rapport with each other that listening to them felt like listening with them, like being there with them and just having a party with your friends, and it was an interesting conversation that you felt like you were a part of, right? Or there was a very interesting person, an incredibly interesting person, and then someone had them on their podcast who was a good interviewer. And through giving a good interview, they pulled all of these interesting and beautiful things out of this very interesting person and then gave it to you. And so you either got some sort of education from it or you got some sort of community from it, right? And now podcasts, I think we made too many microphones. Because now it's a genuine mess. You know? Like, I watched what I think was maybe one of the most important podcast clips of all time. One that exactly, perfectly describes what I'm kind of talking about. Mike D has a podcast. And in that podcast, he was talking to OG Tulo, a rapper. And while he was talking to him, OG Tulo reaches into his pocket and somehow shoots himself in the leg. I'm encouraging everyone to watch this clip because it's truly one of the most important moments in podcasting ever. I had so many questions when I saw this man shoot himself in the leg. First of all, what gun is little enough? But also, what pocket is big enough? Because you can't see a gun. He's literally got his hand in his pocket, which means there's a gun and his hand in his pocket. How deep are these pockets? They're like optical illusions. This man reaches into his pocket, and I want to be clear here, okay? OG Tulo and Mike D, they weren't having some sort of argument. Mike D wasn't coming at him. It's not like he was reaching in his pocket to grab his gun. If anything, it looked like he was reaching in his pocket for something else. And can I just say, don't put your gun in your pocket. But if you do, make sure your gun is the only thing in that pocket. Please do not put your gun and your keys in your pocket. I'm begging you not to put your gun and your phone in your pocket. Because this man looks like he's trying to move the gun. When you rewatch it, I've watched it 2,000 times. It looked like he's trying to move the gun out the way to get something else. And I'm telling you, it's not worth it to have your gun and your gum in the same pocket. This dude reaches into his pocket. Bam! And then Mike D, who's sitting across from him, Mike D goes, "Who shot who?" They're facing each other. He turns to the cameras out there where the people are, who I guess are producing the podcast. And he turns to them and goes, "Who shot who?" Somebody got shot? Sir, how often are people shooting each other at your studio for the first question to be, "Who shot who?" He didn't say who shot who as in like, "Oh no, a gun went off." He turned as if to say, "Y'all, we are trying to do something." This man turns. Who shot who? Somebody got shot? When you look for the clip, OG2Low, now that's O, letter O, G, letter G, we're capital letters, the number 2, like an email, OG2Low, right? OG2Low is fascinating to me because there are a lot of rappers who their name is not, it's not true to who they are as a person, right? But to his credit, OG2Low shoots himself in the leg and only goes, his reaction to shooting himself in the leg, all he does is go, ooh. This man doesn't cry, he doesn't freak out, he just makes the face you make when you drop a casserole, just, ooh. You know the face you make when you get caught coming home after curfew, you in the dark, you think you made it, then the lights come on and you're like, ooh. He makes the face you make when there's like 2 people arguing out in the world and you don't know either one, but then one of them is like, that's why I took your man, ooh. This man simply goes, ooh. And then a person behind the camera calls out and goes, Low, you good? There are a few things I hate more than being asked if I'm good when I should not be good. When I'm clearly, people wait till you hurt to ask if you're okay. And I understand the reflex question, but you just saw something very bad happen. You saw a man reach in his pocket where he clearly forgot he had a gun. And then shoot himself in the leg, and now you go, Low, you good? And OG2Low simply says, I think. And so I'm trying to be more mindful about what podcasts I do and what I do on them, because I've seen how bad it can go. You know? Another thing, another New Year's resolution I had was to take better pictures of my male friends. Okay? As men, we gotta start taking better pictures. This is rough. We wonder why it's a struggle out here, but I'm telling you, I know good men. Not just decent men, I'm talking about good, wholesome men. Father figures in men. Father material, marriage material men who are out here taking pictures forehead first. I'm talking about forehead presented, forehead shining, optical illusion, forehead forward. I don't even know how you get that angle. Did you put the camera on your head? You know, because that's what happens. As a man, you don't get that many good pictures taken of you by other dudes. You know? And then you post it because it's one of the only good pictures you have. You want to go on a dating site, you want to meet people, you go ahead and you post the pictures you have of yourself because what you have is what you have. And then you put that out into the world and you wonder why there aren't many bites. There aren't a ton of bites because when people are scrolling through your pictures, you look blurry. You look like if they met you, you would only be a memory, you know? You know what I'm talking about? You know that wave look when it's like, it's almost a good picture, but there's that movement at the end, so you're a little blurry on one side. Will she be dating a ghost? Who knows? We've got to start taking better pictures of each other. And I know it's hard. I know it feels weird to like take, because women are so good at doing it for each other. They'll take incredible pictures of each other. It won't even be picture day. It'll just be some good lighting in a random place. And they'll be like, hold up, stop. Let me get you. No. Pose, quick. Yep, see, this is good. You know? It's tough. We don't try enough. We don't try. Even if you muster up the courage as a man to know that you look good that day, and you ask your boy to take a picture of you, as men, we get too uncomfortable trying to make each other look good. Like you're scared to try to make your boy look hot. Even if you're looking good, bona fide, looking good, anybody can see it. You're dressed well, shaved, everything, right? And then you hand the phone to your boy. He's like, got it. That's not helpful. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. That's why when I post the picture, I look like smoke. Because you were so uncomfortable, you couldn't stop, let the phone rest for a sec. The phone didn't even get to adjust. Do you know the technology we have in our pockets? And the phone was like, I didn't get that at all. Women will do anything to take a good picture of their friend, especially when the friendship is mixed. Like when you're out with your male, female friends, and you're just walking, going to a restaurant, whatever, and then there's a moment where it's like, hey, this is good lighting, stop, let me take a picture of you. I've seen work put in. Because they love their friend. The things I've seen, it's not just one of these. I've seen women get angles for each other. Angles that it never occurred to me to get. The way that I've seen women work their knees backwards. No, you be still. I'm good. You be still. That's it right there. That's it. No, men take such bad pictures of ourselves and have such bad pictures of us taken. I'm pretty sure that's why nobody looks for us when we go missing. Be honest right now. If there is a man that goes missing, if they even put his picture on the local news, it's the worst picture of him if it's not a picture from high school. If it's not his high school picture with that bow tie or whatever, it's just him being like... And then you see the picture and you're like, I think he did it. I think he kidnapped him. That's what happened. I solved it. We don't need to look. That's why when you put a woman's picture on the national news, it's any picture. It's just a picture of her that's recent. And people are like, find her! Because it's a good picture. Another New Year's resolution that I made was to start making, how do I put this? I want to start having manlier mannerisms. The entire time I've been alive, I've just been moving the way I move because it's what feels natural to me in the moment, but I'm seeing every once in a while there'll be someone that comes into my life that shows me that actually, maybe not this way. When I was young, I was working this job, and there was a dude on the job who was he was in prison, and he was on work release. And he took me under his wing and was trying to teach me how to be more of a man. I didn't ask him to, but I also didn't really know how to take up for myself, so... I would do little things, and he would try to correct those things for me, right? And I remember one time I walked in the room, and it was pretty stinky. And because it was stinky, I tried to waft, in front of my face, like waft, like you would when it stinks. She goes, ooh, it's stinky, right? You know what I mean? Like, you've done this. Don't act like it was stinky, right? But the way I did it, my hands were too fluid when I was, because it was stinky, but I felt like this was more efficient to get it out of my face. I was like whipping it out of the way, right? And he saw me and he was like, stop doing that. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, your hand looked like a whisper, dog. One time he tried to, dap me up, but he had big hands. And so when he did it, I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. And so I pulled my hand back, and I pulled my hand back like, And he was like, don't do that. I'm like, what should I do then? He's like, I don't know, but not that. The worst one was, people talk about fight or flight, and people often don't talk about freeze, which is what I did in this particular situation. This dude had been on work release, right? And some dudes who he must have got into it with before he went to jail found out where he worked. They waited for him to take a smoke break, and they tried to jump him. Now, initially, when they tried to jump him, they were just pressing him outside, talking. I don't know if he owed them money. I don't know what the situation was. All I know is I'm walking out with the trash, and then they swing on this dude, all right? And then he, by himself, fights off both of these dudes, and he's not really losing or winning, but he'll take one to give one, and then he'll get one good enough that they back up a bit so he can focus on the other one, and then go back to this guy and everything. But then at one point, my man, he gets clipped. He gets clipped by one of these dudes, right? And they have him with an uppercut, and he goes backwards, and I'm not proud of it, but it was my genuine reaction. When he got hit, I did go. Because apparently I touched my cheeks when I gasped. I didn't know that about me either, but nothing had happened to make me gasp in a long time. So when it happened, I was like, oh. And people look at you different when you do like a full Macaulay Culkin, when you hit them with the Macaulay, with the... Another one of my New Year's resolutions is to take a break from Facebook Marketplace. This is my thing. It's not even that I'm buying a lot, it's just everyone that I seem to buy off of on Facebook Marketplace I'm never meeting them at a good point in their life. Right? So when I meet them, there's a whole energy to it that doesn't feel like just regular commerce. As an example, I went over one time, I needed a bed frame, so I went to purchase the bed frame. Facebook Marketplace, I show up, right? I've already paid, and I show up to pick up the bed frame, and it's not as if I came there to make a friend. I wasn't trying to sit down and have tea or something like that. I really was there to pick up the bed frame and be out. But the way I was being rushed the entire time was making this start to feel like some stolen goods. Do you know what I mean? Just I'm like, all right, so can I help you put it somewhere? Do you have a truck or do you have something? I was like, oh, okay, all right, calm down, right? And then while taking the bed frame, there's a piece missing. And so then they go to get this piece. And when they go to get the piece, there's a truck that pulls up. And then when they walk back out, they're like, oh no. And then this guy gets out of the truck and he's like, Amy, why? Why? And I'm just here for the bed frame. He's like, Amy, why? And she's like, I told you why. I'm done with you. I'm done. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of everything that you do. I've given you so many chances. And now she is yelling over my shoulder. Like I'm here. I'm where I am now. She's right here yelling at him who's behind me going, why? So I am kind of like this child of divorce in this moment. He's like, why? I told you why. No, but why, Amy? Is it him? And I can honestly tell you right now, it didn't look like it would be me, because when he said, is it him? I went, huh? And then she went, what? No. She didn't have that. Now I'm looking at both of them like, huh? And they clearly had some stuff to work out, and I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't get the piece because she was still looking for it. He was crying, so I left the bed frame. Another time. There was another time where I was going to buy a teddy bear. I had someone that I was trying to get the teddy bear for because they like novelty teddy bears. I was trying to do something a little sweet and everything. And I go there to pick up the teddy bear. And not everybody posts the dimensions of the item that you're buying. But when I get there, the teddy bear, my size, right? So way bigger than I was expecting. The teddy bear is like a 5-foot-something teddy bear. And this particular teddy bear, which was apparently like novelty because it was made like handmade and everything, from behind, the teddy bear had a lot of ass. Like a twerkable amount of ass. Like it was cheeky. And so, you know, I'm trying to pick it up and it weighs a man. And so I was like, okay, maybe not. Because now even if I give this as a gift, 1, it's too big, and 2, I'm gonna have to explain what's happening back here. I went to buy a fridge one time, and I get there and I'm talking to this guy about the fridge, like where I should go get it, and he's looking at me confused. And he's standing right outside of the address that I was given, and he sounded all confused. And then he tells me he's there to buy a fridge. And then homeboy opens the door and basically invited us both to go ahead and haggle in person over the fridge. I was like, that's insane. We had a price. We had a price that we agreed on, and the other guy was like 55. And I was like, you're not helping our case at all. You're not a good negotiator. I went to buy a couch. This should have been plain and simple. You're moving, I need a couch, you need to get rid of a couch, we're done. I show up, even had the truck ready because I've known from before, you gotta have the getaway vehicle in tow. And sure enough, pull up. You know, we're carrying out the couch in pieces, cushions first, also like that, trying to get the couch lifted up out the door and stuff. And this man who is selling the couch keeps trying to upsell me on dolls that he made himself, and you can tell. He made these like knockoff porcelain Cabbage Patch dolls which already freaking looking to begin with. They already look at you, no matter where you are in the room, they got eyes on you. And then he made it so he stuffed them a little bit and then he put a button on it. And when you put the button on it, it was supposed to cry. Like, you know, the way that you buy the toys. Wham! Okay, hold the baby, right. Except he must have recorded the cry. Because this doll's cry was haunting. You press the button on this doll to cry because he did it. No one asked him to. Trying to upsell us on these dolls while we trying to lift a couch that is apparently made out of lead because we cannot get it up. Meanwhile, he not helping, presses the button on the doll, and the doll, instead of a wham, wham, it gives a cry that screams 1800s horror movie. This doll presses the button, this doll goes, ah! I'm doing that because he made so the mouth open. I was so genuinely terrified that I left the couch. That's why I need to take a break from Facebook Marketplace because I don't really leave with my items. I don't really...
The other one that I really hate, that really kills me, it really upsets me, is don't judge a book by its cover. I get what you're trying to say. I get what you're getting at. You know what I mean? Don't judge just on appearances. There's more than what meets the eye. I get it, right? But that's a bad analogy. When was the last time a book had the wrong cover? Like, help me out. When have you been going to the bookstore to get a present for your niece, and you're like, I'll get Winnie the Pooh. She like Winnie the Pooh. And then you grab Winnie the Pooh. You just look at the cover. You don't read it. And so you grab Winnie the Pooh, and then you wrap it up, and then you give it to her, and then she unwraps it. And she's like, oh, Winnie the Pooh, I'm so excited. And then she turns the page past the cover, and it's Mein Kampf. That's never happened. No one's going to a bookstore just putting different books on different covers. That's insane. Sometimes I'll be in New York on the subway. I'll be like, he's about to be crazy. I don't know what he's about to do, but he's about to be crazy. I can tell you that right now. I'm just looking at him. He's about to be crazy. You know what I mean? And the train will come and it will leave. And he won't get on or leave the station. He just pulls his pants down. I'm like, see? That book was wearing its cover.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell a friend. That would be a huge help if you tell people about it. Sharing is great. There's like a share button, but if you tell people, they might click on it.
I've been getting tested a lot. Like a lot. I've had a lot of tests just so I can do things and go places and stuff. And, you know, always come out negative. I've been very blessed. I'm very grateful for that. But I have been tested so much that I'm not going to lie. My nose is starting to feel a little loose, all right? Baby boy is not tight anymore, okay? If you ask my nose, just from my nose's perspective, been on the streets doing what it had to do, all right? Doing what it had to do to get by, okay? It's a hard knock life for this nose. It's getting to the point, like, my nose is so open, I don't just smell things, I feel like I smell when they happened. Like, I no lie, I'm starting to feel like I can smell the future. Just like the worst superhero, just walking in like, oh, we need to get out of here, this is terrible. You know? I had one test. This is insane. I had one test where they stuck it so far up my nose, I fainted. Right, so I just passed out, and I don't know what it was. Like it was almost like she stuck it up so far that she hit the off switch on my brain. Because then I wake up, test is still hanging out of my nose. Right, I wake up like maybe 10 seconds later, and she's gone. And then she walks back in, and I'm like, "You left me?" And she was like, "I had to go get a doctor because I thought I killed you." This has never happened before. That's why I've given up on being an alpha, you know? Because I faint too much for a black guy. I really do. I faint a lot, and no one faints well. You know what I mean? Like, no guy has ever been standing there crossed-armed and then, like, tipped over. Like, I melt, you know what I mean? And I hit my head hard. Like, when I faint, I hit my head so hard that people look at me different when I wake up. You know, because I even had an instance where I saw my friend, he was running and he tripped and he fell, and he messed up his arm really bad. Like, it wasn't just bloody, it was like an anatomy lesson. Like, I could see through his arm. So I appropriately fainted where I stood, all right? But instead of just like tipping over, I guess my legs were too far apart, so then my knees buckled, but then they opened again under the weight of my hips. So I just sort of twerked myself down until I rested on the ground. So yeah, I faint.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell a friend. That would be a huge help if you tell people about it. Sharing is great. There's like a share button, but if you tell people, they might click on it.
Give it up for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if y'all saw this demure thing that's taken off. Why are y'all groaning? Oh my God. In case you don't know what it is, in case you haven't been alive for the past couple weeks, demure is this one TikTok started this whole thing. It's not like a whole group of people. It's not like somebody super famous already said something. There's this one TikTok by this creator named Jules LeBron that was just sort of getting ready for work and said, you know, look at how I'm dressed. Very demure, very mindful. And demure and mindful have like really taken off. They've really become this big, big thing. People are talking about how I'm demure, I'm mindful and everything. People have made all these response TikToks to it and stuff. But basically, she was just saying like, you know, look at how I'm dressed, keeping it chill, a little bit low key and everything. And by and large, everything that I've seen that's come from it has been pretty positive. I know I'm not on the whole internet, but like, everything that I see is nice, which is kind of cool because usually when it comes to like TikTok as a movement or like challenges or like anything popular, it's usually not as positive. You know, most TikTok challenges or trends are mostly like, hey, y'all, watch me punch my grandma on the back of the head. It's usually something that causes harm to, you know, you or someone else for everyone's entertainment. And we watch all the time. It's like, hey, y'all, watch me while I call in this bomb threat to the Vatican. You know, like there was one thing, I don't even know, it got so bad that they would talk about TikTok trends happening that I don't even think were happening, but they were believable because all the stuff that really was happening. Like, I'm pretty sure there was one where maybe I'm falling for like a trick, but I'm pretty sure there was one TikTok trend where people just kept blowing up the urinals at the boys' bathrooms in their high schools. And I was like, man, maybe they really are lost as a generation. You know what I mean? So then you see something like Demure, and it really kills the whole, you know, the sort of generational gaps that we have. It's hard to keep pushing them away when they're being all nice and stuff. You know, you see these young Gen Alpha, Gen Z just being sweet. You almost don't know how to react. You know what I mean? It starts raining. maybe you're a boomer, and then out of nowhere, this young person comes up being very demure. Pops an umbrella right over your rainy head. You just standing there like, Fox News did not prepare me for this. I don't know what to do. Thank you, I guess. This is weird. You sure you don't want to punch me in the back of the head and film it or something? Like, no, it's just nice to see like a trend that's at least like feeling mildly positive as it spreads, Because a lot of them start positive and then quickly turn. And I haven't seen this one turn yet, because the whole definition of demure is like modest, shy. Mindfulness, obviously self-explanatory, being mindful and stuff. Because the other TikToks I've seen Jules make have also fascinated me, because, she'll do little stuff. Like, she brought donuts to the hotel staff that took care of her at the end of her stay. And she was like, this is being demure. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we redefining it. I had no idea. I thought, that's cool. I'm saying, because I'm happy about it, I think that's really awesome, because for a long time, I didn't know if like a good trend could catch on. We like, deep down, whether you like it because you like it or you like it because you love to hate it, we like watching the bad stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like like Jackass would have never been a franchise if we didn't love the idea of a guy just standing there and then his friend running behind him and kicking him in the balls. Like, that's... we had Jackass when we were little, and that just spawned into like a different now everybody can do Jackass. Everybody was doing Jackass the whole time, by the way. It's just when we filmed it, it sort of just sat at home. Like, they just became home movies. There wasn't an internet to push it out to the rest of the world with, And so, I don't know. I mean, I hope for those that enjoy it, it continues. I hope it doesn't, morph into a different thing, because I feel like the internet's very good at that. The internet's very good at like taking something, because it's so decentralized, like taking something that starts out very good and then morphing it to a place where, maybe 5 years from now, there's just a kid that runs up and punches his grandma in the back of the head and goes, "Demure!" Nah, but I hope it doesn't happen. I took an improv class when I lived in Chicago with a kid who was Buddhist, right? And he was Buddhist in a way that was very sincere. He wasn't like that. You know how sometimes when you go off to college or something and you meet someone who's like hardcore Buddhist, but they're like a white dude with dreads that's always trying to bang, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, no, I don't know if you following really. I think that you just wear the beads. I think you're disingenuous. You're just trying to use it to lower some walls, you know what I mean? How could I be bad? I summered into bed. You know what I mean? Kind of has those vibes. But my friend who I met is the person that truly fascinated me, because he was someone who had a lot of joy, and a sincere joy. Not like, you know how there are people that you meet sometimes that are full of joy, but you can tell the joy is because everything's going right now. It's very circumstantial joy, right? It's like lottery winning joy, where it's like, guys, of course. He had a nice joy that wasn't swayed one way or the other by like little things happening, Because the circumstantial joy I'm talking about, it gets knocked over with a feather, right? That same person that's so joyful one day, you see them the next day, they're like, get out of my way! Like, it's... And that's also normal. That's part of being human, right? Like, it's not normal to be happy all the time. If someone is, watch them. Do you know what I mean? Like, if somebody's happy all the time, they need to be on a list. They're hiding something, right? But he had a very, very sweet and sincere joy that was calm kind of quiet, a little bit to himself, but happy to talk to anybody, happy to engage with anybody and everything. And I think that because of who he was as a person, it sort of fascinated me what his philosophy was for life, because he didn't teach Buddhism, and he didn't think of Buddhism as a religion. He thought it more as a sort of philosophy, right? It was his answer to the psychology of his mind. And we were talking one day, because I was just sort of asking him how he came to it and everything, because he was white. And regular haircut though, like regular haircut. Like, but you know, we were just chatting, and he was explaining, at least to the best of his understanding, the 4 noble truths to me, right? Because the first noble truth is that there is suffering in the world. And that's an undeniable thing, you know? We all suffer in different ways for different amounts of time, you know? Some suffering is physical. Like when you wake up in the night and you're thirsty. And you swear you know you're home. But you're walking in the dark because you don't want to wake yourself up too much with the light. And you don't sleep with shoes on. So your feet, your toes are at their most vulnerable. You get up and you're walking around, and in the kitchen, you get a little bit of that fridge light. You almost squint a little bit. That's too much. You grab your water, you pour it in your glass, take some sips, and now you got to make your way back. Halfway tired, in the dark, right? And as you're walking, maybe you're a parent. And maybe even though you know this home like the back of your hand, you don't know that there's a Lego waiting. There's a Lego waiting to be stepped on, right? There's a skateboard near some steps waiting to take you out. To put you on your ass, right? Or maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you're a bachelor. Maybe you're just living on your own as a single person, but you make your way back. And for some reason, tonight, there's just a little bit of extra width to that bed frame. And so you get close to the bed and you get ready to hop in, and then and so you suffer. You know? But a lot of suffering isn't physical. A lot of suffering, you know, genuinely is coming from a mental place. You either suffer in what you think is going to be the future, or you suffer over the past as it happened. You know, those things that happen that are very, very embarrassing. Maybe you hold on to a mistake that you made too tight. In your mind's eye, it's the only thing that you can focus on. And most of the time, you can shut it out. It's probably whatever you're thinking about right now. But most of the day, you're pretty good at shutting it out. But then you have a quiet moment, like in the shower. And while you're in the shower, your brain just goes, remember that time? You remember that time that everybody was like, wouldn't it be fun if we jumped in the pool, and then you just jumped in the pool, but then the other person was like, oh, I was never going to jump in the pool. So then you were just out here in the pool by yourself, and you can't swim. So then you were hoping that everybody jumping in would just mean that everyone floated a little bit higher or something. And so now you're like fighting to get to the top of the water, and then people, you can hear them be like, is he drowning? Like that. It was like a question, because you flailing so hard that everyone's like, is he drowning? And then you're like, what? These are supposed to be my friends. Why aren't they jumping in the water and help me? Do we not want to jump in the water so bad? We just want to talk about jumping in the water that no one's going to come save me right now. And so you're flailing, and then finally you just hear somebody at the party, one of your friends say, yo, stand up. And then you realize you were on the shallow end of the pool. So there's a suffering. And then, you know, there's a suffering for the things that you think are going to happen in the future, right? Things that haven't even happened yet. Usually, it's us, because of our imagination, We're one of the only, I mean, look, this is us saying it, but as far as scientists know, we are one of the only species that has real imagination in that way. So we're some of the only things on planet Earth suffering in that particular way, right? Most things are living in the moment, right? You know? But we're the only ones putting things onto the future that haven't even happened yet. Like, let's say you're in a relationship and you love this person, but y'all fight from time to time. And you fight, but you love each other, and maybe it's been a long time. You've been together for a long time, so you know them. You know them deeply. You know them in a fundamental way where no one else knows them, right? So then sometimes when something happens, you can tell we're probably going to have a fight. We're probably going to have a fight because I know them and I know what happened and I know how they react to things. I know how I react to things, so we're probably going to have an argument, right? So then maybe you're driving home, maybe you're taking the train, maybe you're on the bus, but wherever you are, because you know there's about to be a fight, you decide to have the first fight. The first fight is in your head because you're practicing, right? Like, the first fight is you just sort of shadow boxing, right? You know? You do it too. That's not my fault, right? Like, you just... And so the first fight, maybe things don't go so well. Maybe the first fight, because you have to imagine the whole thing, you imagine them reacting a little harsher than they might even react. Because you don't know, because you haven't been there yet. It's in the future. It hasn't happened. You have to make this thing up. But now you're suffering because you're imagining that they said something to you that was a bit too far. And they always do this. And I can't stand when you do this, right? You always, in my head, take things too far before I have the conversation with you, right? And so you get home and you already mad. You already pissed off because in your mind you lost the first fight, right? So now when we have the first fight, I'm remembering the first fight. So now I got to get my get back from losing that first fight because they had such good logic in my head when I was fighting them before that I came ready. I'm already ready to plug up all the holes in my own argument, right? And so then, you know, you start fighting and then you start the fight by being like, why are you always? And then you realize you're yelling and you're like, why am I yelling right now? And it's because you had a fight already. You had suffering you didn't even need to have. There was no reason, right? And then there's the second noble truth. The second noble truth is that there is a cause to the suffering. People, we don't just have to suffer endlessly for no reason, right? There is a cause. This is where the concept of karma comes from and everything. Because if you understand the suffering and you understand the cause, you can end it, right? It can be over, you know? Like, I have a friend who I love very much, and he has a lot of love to give, but he keeps, because he can't understand the cause, he keeps getting his heart broken, because he keeps, okay. He keeps getting his heart broken because he keeps trying. It's gonna sound however it sounds, but he keeps trying to save young ladies who do not like him, but do enjoy dinner, right? Do you know what I mean? Like at a certain amount of dates, I'm like, yeah, dog, I think if she liked you, she would call you sometimes. Like. You know, because he's a lover, but it's I don't know if he's thinking about why he keeps feeling this way. And if it keeps happening, if the same thing keeps happening with different people who don't know each other, maybe there's a cause. And maybe the cause is something you're doing. Maybe the suffering can end. Maybe. Or maybe he's just real good at paying for dinner. I have no idea, but like it seems like when I talk to him, like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this, right? And then there's a third noble truth. Third noble truth is that you can end the suffering. it can't, like, it doesn't have to go forever, right? Like the second one is that there's a cause, and the third one is that there will be an end, right? It doesn't have to go on forever. You can release yourself out of this sort of cycle. And then the fourth one is that there's a path. There's a path for you, a way to end the suffering, right? Which I think is great. I think that there's an answer at the end. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of religions out there that just tell you, like, it's pretty bad. And it will get worse. You know? There are some Buddhist monks, right? There's some Buddhist monks in Thailand. And they're in a specific region, so I don't want you to think this is all of the Buddhist monks. But these particular Buddhist monks in this particular region of Thailand keep getting into trouble for not being very good monks. Because when you think of a monk, it's unfair, but you think of a monk the same way you think of a nun. You think of someone who has dedicated their entire life, their finances, their physical self, their spiritual well-being to the cause of whatever religion or philosophy that they've taken up, right? And that doesn't make them perfect, you know? But it does make them seem like someone who is going to be holy or be grounded, you know, whatever the thing is, right? And these monks are pretty rock and roll. These monks are going ham, okay? These monks are having such wild scandals. Like there was one temple, right, where all the monks in that temple got busted by the police for doing meth, right? And it's hard to conceptualize a methy monk, right? Because you usually think of them as calm and still, but you can't be on meth. You know, I've never seen someone do meth and then calm down, right? That's not part of it, you know? I can only imagine what that one monk who did the meth first must have told the others. You know, does a little meth and it's like, y'all, if we do this, we ain't got to do all that sitting. Like this is about to hit, okay? You know? There was another scandal where there were some monks who basically, I say got in trouble, I think they got arrested for stealing millions of dollars in donations from people who were basically donating to, I guess, the monastery, but just generally, the same way you donate to like any church or anything like that. And that one baffled me because I thought one of the whole principles of Buddhism was like, guys, I don't need anything. Like it's me trying to better myself, trying to get better, trying to get to the next level and everything. So to give the monks millions of dollars is asking for trouble. Like, you know what I mean? To give the monks a rapper level of money and then not expect them to live that rapper lifestyle feels like an unnecessary temptation, okay? You know, like I'm pretty low key, but if you gave me around $8 million, I might go a little wild for a day or two. You know what I mean? And it's tough. It's tough when you're a monk and then you try balling out because you in the same clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like when you roll up to a strip club, everybody know you're not supposed to be there. Like you throwing it up and making it rain, and then everybody's like, where's it even coming from? Does the robe have pockets? You know? There have even been some monks that got in trouble for straight up violence, right? Which is terrible and terrifying. But I will say, as a monk, if somebody messing with you, you do kind of have the element of surprise. Because they're sure nothing's going to happen, right? Like you just poking a monk and poking a monk and poking a monk, and then they just hit you with that bladdow. You know? And I guess it's just wild that for such a I'll call it a religion or a lifestyle just for the sake of the argument, but like for such a calm, peaceful, to yourself religion of bringing yourself to the best level that you can, building an understanding of yourself and the people around you, and trying to spread good in the world. It's wild to me that this section of Buddhist monks in Thailand, all they really need is Jules LeBron to teach them how to be demure, to teach them how to be mindful, you know what I mean? You imagine that? You imagine this. There's a monk that's just throwing out money at the strip club and everything, and then Jules is like, not demure, not mindful.
Mira.